Okay, and we are live. Welcome everyone to NFA Live, episode number 627 or something like that. It's good to see you again. Thanks for joining. I'm joined as ever by Ben from Into the Cryptoverse. Welcome back, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. And by Rob from Digital Asset News. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks for having me back. Good to see you guys.
Rob, you're going for the most boring background of the year award. I think you're a shoo-in.
No. Like, hey,
if give me a run for my money.
Yeah, like I'm trying to save money like what Ben does, so I can pick up some cheap Bitcoin and alts. I mean, hey, if you guys want the bag, I'll put it up there.
Ooh.
But today it's not for us. Let's just go with this. Let's go for the passport background image.
It's a very bear market background, that one. Very austere, very let's not get too carried away. And then when things finally pick up, when Powell finally drops rates, then it'll just be all opulence, and we'll all be, Ben will have a chandelier installed behind him. It'll just be gold pouring forth from all those doors. So it's something to aim at, something to look forward to. So for everyone watching, as usual, we've got a few talking points to go through today, some extremely serious, some not quite so serious, because it has been a fairly quiet news week in crypto this week. If any of you guys watching have any questions for Ben and Rob particularly, but also myself, please do leave them in the comments, and we will try to get to them sort of nearer the end. If you don't already follow Ben and Rob, then consider doing so. Your lives will be much enriched if you do. Let's kick off. So. The first question, this is more aimed at you, Ben, because I know this is very much your wheelhouse. But Rob, if you have any opinions on it as well, please do feel free to jump in. Yesterday was FOMC day. Jerome Powell doing his thing as ever. We also got the SEP, the Summary of Economic Projections. The market was pretty volatile headed into this. So Ben, can you just give us your thoughts on what went down yesterday at the Fed?
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of this. I'm just going to share my screen here. There was a little bit of a surprise. I don't know. I mean, I think that the market had sort of. I can't remember what the market was expecting, but I still think they were expecting maybe 2 rate cuts this year. But because when we got the last SCP, Summary of Economic Projections, back in March, the Fed had penciled in 3 rate cuts for this year. And then I think there's a lot of people wondering, well, has anything changed? Are they still thinking about 3 rate cuts? I think most people knew it wasn't going to be 3 based on the data that had come in. But I think maybe hopeful for 2. And it looks like, if you look at the dot plot here, it looks like 4 of the committee members are saying to keep rates at 5.5%, or between 5.25 to 5.5%, which is where they are right now. And then you have like 7 people, I believe, saying only 1 rate cut, and then 8 members saying 2 rate cuts. So the median participant is actually calling for only 1 rate cut this year, which kind of was a little bit of a surprise to some areas of the market. It shouldn't really be that unexpected. And in fact, it was in June of 2019, the summer of 2019, after a rate hiking cycle, after a pause by the Fed, and the Fed came out and said they're not going to cut rates until 2020. Of course, they ended up cutting 3 times in 2019. So you can't always necessarily believe what they say, but so I think that was one thing that changed. And if you scroll up here to the table, you can see it right here, right? So the median projected appropriate policy path for the Fed funds rate, for the, by the end of the year is 5.1%, whereas the March projection had it at 4.6%, so another 50 basis points lower. So yeah, essentially essentially what's happened is the market sort of digesting, I guess, the idea of only 1 rate cut this year, as opposed to 2. He didn't really say a whole lot that was new. I mean, I sort of wrote down some of the things he said, but it's more or less in line. I mean, he said that the last data point for inflation was a move in the right direction, and it was. We saw headline inflation come in lower than expectations. We saw core inflation continue its descent. So that's great. I mean, it's great to see inflation coming down, but you said you don't want to really base everything on one data point. And I mean, I guess that makes sense, right? You want to see if there's more data points that come in after it that also point towards inflation durably falling to 2%. So right now, I guess the market is speculating that the first rate cut will come in September. I guess, I mean, if you get a July, August, and September inflation prints that are all in line with a durable path to 2%, then perhaps they'll cut by September. Of course, if you get a bad data point, I mean, they could cut any time, but that's what the market's currently pricing in. And the only other thing that Powell, I mean, he basically he said that the economy is pretty strong. We're just the labor market is gradually cooling, but it's more or less just coming into balance with where it was pre-pandemic. Well, that's about it. I mean, that's about it. Not a whole lot to report. Just that they've changed the assessment from 3 cuts to 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's I guess pretty disappointing for a lot of people. 3, starting or going into the year sort of with 3 rate cuts on the table and now down to 1. I mean, I guess there's a decent chance that we, as you said, Ben, if that inflation data doesn't come in as people want, as people would like to see, then I guess there's a decent chance we might not get a rate cut this year at all. Is that fair to say, do you think?
I mean, look, it's possible. I think that, I mean, because they haven't cut this year is sort of a sign that the economy has been a lot stronger than they thought it was going to be. So, because I mean, if they had already started cutting, especially with inflation where it is, that would be a sign that maybe the economy's not doing as well. But the fact that they haven't been cutting suggests that everything that they're looking at would make you believe, right? And I mean, still real GDP is coming in. I don't know what, I think the last projection from the Atlanta Fed for Q2 is like 3.1%. So, until something changes, you can't necessarily blame them. I think they're worried about repeating the 1970s, where in the 1970s, we saw inflation come back down to 3%, and then, which is where it is right now, and then it went right back up because the Fed cut too soon. And I think they are really trying to avoid that. But I mean, it's when you look on a chart at the 1970s and you can kind of see it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, why didn't they just do this? But when you're living through it, it makes a lot more sense because you're seeing some of the smaller companies that don't really have as great of a balance sheet. They're struggling. And then you have the juggernauts, right? You have your NVIDIAs, your Microsoft, your Apple, Google, Meta. You're seeing those companies do extremely well. And in fact, NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft all have market caps over 3 trillion now, right? So think about it like this: at the height of the 2021 crypto bull run, the market cap of all of crypto hit around 3 trillion. And right now you have 3 individual companies with market caps higher than that. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it certainly seems like a lot of that money is just getting diverted into the blue chips, right? And you're seeing the blue chips do extremely well. And then you're seeing some of the other companies struggle because money's just being diverted away from them to the juggernauts.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's interesting that you raise things like NVIDIA and stocks in general, Ben, because as Nick pointed out to me today, apparently, let me just see if I can share my screen here and you can see this. This is from K33 Research. Bitcoin's correlation with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 is the highest it's been since late 2022, which is, is interesting, perhaps, if nothing else. But yeah, I mean, does that say anything in particular to you, Ben, or is that just you know, an interesting curiosity?
Well, I mean, look, I think that I think in a lot of ways, crypto is just slightly higher out on the risk curve than than the stock market, and by slightly, maybe a lot more than slightly. Maybe Bitcoin is just slightly further out on the risk curve. So I mean, in a lot of ways, Bitcoin has behaved as sort of a more volatile version of the Nasdaq for a long time, and also in trending. If a market is generally trending up, right? If tech stocks are generally trending up, Bitcoin is usually also trending up. And if the Nasdaq is trending down, then Bitcoin is also usually trending down. So I don't think that is that surprising. I mean, I think that, I mean, if you think about it, the Nasdaq bottomed in, what was it, October of 2022, like 1 month before Bitcoin hit its low. And then ever since then, they've both more or less just been trending higher. So no, I think it has made a lot of sense. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't diverge at certain times, and they have, and there are examples where they have diverged before. 2019 was actually a great example where they diverged for like 6 months or something. But for the most part, like 90 something percent of the time, they are extremely highly correlated to each other.
Yeah, true. Okay, thanks, Ben. Let's. So I want to quickly talk about another piece of sort of more crypto-related news that I thought was actually one of the more interesting stories from last week. And I mean, we've got to take what we can get at times like this, when the markets are are fairly quiet. There's not a huge amount happening in crypto. So I was kind of interested to see this from last week. Robinhood, obviously the big stock trading platform that's big in the States and elsewhere, buying Bitstamp last week for $200 million. Bitstamp, I'm sure most people are familiar with that, but I was reminded that it is pretty much the OG exchange. I think it was 2011 Bitstamp was founded, so it makes it older than Coinbase. But Robinhood bought Bitstamp, as I said, for $200 million. Rob, did this register with you at all? What does it tell us about the state of crypto at the moment? Does it tell us anything?
It's a smart move, and it's because, and we've talked about this before, I think, on a couple of different shows about the bigger companies will just start to acquire the smaller ones, and they'll become even bigger. And if you throw up my screen, I mean, look at, people don't like this company that much, but Facebook did a great job of that. They don't have to actually, develop everything. What they do is they just have a big war chest, and they go along and they just start buying everything. This is back in the 2008, 2009. And you can just see as it goes forward, I mean, look what they bought, everything. And they just said, well, we can't do this. We'll just keep buying. And it's not just Facebook. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's a smart move. Amazon's the same way. They're like, look, we want to be a global power and we want to rapidly expand. So what do? Do we want to build everything? Do we want to do everything and make it from scratch? No, we'll just start buying everybody. We'll buy PetSmart and CD Now and all this stuff that I've never, Quiz. I don't know what this stuff is, most of it, but you might be familiar with like Whole Foods, MGM, Zappos, Twitch, Ring, stuff like that. And it just, to me, like when I look at this, I'm like, well, that makes sense. So like, it's the same thing over here. Why do things from scratch when you just easily just acquire because you have a huge war chest and then it's going to grow from there? It's the same thing that I think is going to happen with the crypto digital asset market. And we see that going on with the three AI projects with Ocean, Ajax, and the third one that are Fetch AI. And they're combining to actually make one token. And it makes sense because they all kind of do a little bit something different, and they can do that, and they can actually pool their resources and be successful. All these, and everybody who's watching this video right now knows there's like a project being born every second. And whether that be like a legit project, like an L1, L2, L3, or like some kind of like meme coin project, I'm not here to judge, but it seems at some point you can't all be successful. It's just business. So at some point, I think they're going to start to get underneath one umbrella, and it'll be a multi-chain abstraction. And I think that's the future of where we're going. So kudos to Robinhood for doing what they did.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't considered that so much. The fact that this could be a sign of things to come. Perhaps this is the first of many acquisitions of crypto companies or crypto platforms or exchanges or whatever by sort of more TradFi players, if you like.
Right. And one last thing is Robinhood has a reasonable good stance with the SEC, and they can get into those organizations maybe a little bit easier than Bitstamp could, because they say, look, we already have the connections. And in this, I don't care what industry you're in. It's not about what you know, it's who you know and the things that go forward. Just take a look at FTX and SPF. He had a really good connection with some of those people, Gary Gensler. So like when you have those types of inroads, it makes things a hell of a lot easier. So again, I think this is actually a positive step moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's bullish for crypto, isn't it? Because I mean, Robinhood. I think Robinhood. You say Robinhood has a good relationship with the SEC. I mean, I think there have been questions. Obviously, the SEC in general has been sort of very anti-crypto, and there are obviously questions around these securities. But I guess for Robinhood to go and do something like this at a time when the SEC is still very much on the warpath, that kind of shows a real commitment to crypto going forward, doesn't it? It suggests, well, I mean,
yes, sir.
They're not planning to row back on crypto anytime soon, are they? By the look of this, otherwise they wouldn't spend $200 million on an exchange, on the oldest exchange out there.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think something else. I don't know if this is something you guys would agree with as well. But I mean, I think it says a heck of a lot about kind of where we are. We've discussed the sort of, I think in the past couple of shows, we've mentioned the sort of disparity between what's going on in the US versus what's going on in Europe, sort of in economic terms. But I mean, Bitstamp, as I said earlier, is older than Coinbase. But I mean, Coinbase's valuation, I think, is north of, is somewhere between 60 and $70 billion. So Bitstamp, which I gather has a sort of fairly interesting sort of history of ownership. I think it was sold to a Korean guy who later died, and has been sort of, they've kind of been working through that for the last however many years. But I mean, this is a sort of fairly big European exchange, and it's been picked up for, I mean, it's relatively peanuts by the sound of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, that's the way to go. I mean, if it's picked up for peanuts, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. We'll see how it all works out, but yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good move on their part.
Yeah. So well, that I thought was from last week one of the more interesting bits of news, and it certainly suggests that long term Robinhood have got some, you would imagine, some fairly big plans for what they're going to offer crypto wise. I don't actually. I have either of you guys ever used Robinhood?
Yeah, I use it. I used it poorly. I will say that, because it's for me. I haven't used this for crypto. I use it for equities, stocks, and it goes to show you people have different abilities and agendas and likes and dislikes. When I got into it, it was like 2021, because I was doing so well with crypto. I'm like, stuff's easy. Let's go into stocks and buy the top ones and be a genius. And of course, I bought the top. And then during the bear market, I had no interest in stocks, and I let it just sit. And then when the S&P 500 hit its all-time high again, I'm like, I should probably take a look at those stocks and think about selling them. And I look at them like, son of a gun, I haven't really moved. Because why? Because I didn't dollar cost average during the bear market. So it's another example of why, like, pick your spots as things that you're actually interested in, that you will actually follow through on, and then leave the rest at the door. Because for me, I pretty much just did a round trip for most of these stocks.
Okay, wise words. All right, let's move on. So we've covered what's been going on with the Fed. We've covered some big crypto news from last week. Now it's time to really get serious and delve into the issues that really mean the most to everyone in crypto. By that, of course, I mean celebrities and fighting. There was some new. I think I've said this a few times, but if you go on crypto Twitter at the moment, it's all the sentiment there is pretty bad. People are kind of tearing strips off each other. There's a lot of shit posting going on, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess something that kind of really lit a fire under things, was it last week or the week before, was the entry of Caitlyn, and the entry stage left of Caitlyn Jenner and Iggy Azalea. Celebrities I'm sure both of you are very well familiar with. Ben, I'll be asking for your favorite Iggy Azalea tracks in just a moment or so. These guys launched these meme coins. We didn't really ask for them, but that's what we ended up with. So yeah, it was. I don't think anyone really expected Caitlyn Jenner or Iggy Azalea to go crypto, as it were. But my question to you guys is, if you had to pick a celebrity that you would like to see go crypto, that may, let's say, may perhaps do a slightly sort of better job of promoting the good side of the industry, who would you choose and why?
This is a Ben question for sure.
I know, it's such a Ben question. That's why I chose it. I thought it's either this or Bitcoin dominance. So let's go with.
Hey, with celebrities. Hey, you brought up Bitcoin dominance.
Good diversion. You're almost as good as Gary Gensler diverting those questions. Very nice.
I gave him an out there. Well, it did sort of get me thinking after that. It's like, what sort of person, what sort of celebrity would we want to sort of give a better image? Because so far, so many of the celebrities that we get sort of coming to crypto, as it were, I'm thinking of people like Floyd Mayweather and many others. They always seem to come with a whole load of baggage. They've either been sort of mixed up in all sorts of shady stuff before, or their reputations just aren't that great, and then they kind of go crypto, and it's sort of it reflects really bad on kind of them and crypto as a whole. And obviously you've got sort of political figures coming into crypto now. I mean, both the Trump and Biden campaigns are now accepting crypto donations. So I just sort of wondered, what sort of person do we need to see? What sort of well-known, famous figure would be a good sort of ambassador for crypto, say? Is there anyone that springs to mind for you guys? Ben, I'll start with you, but obviously you can palm it over to Rob as soon as you want.
So your question was about Bitcoin dominance, right? I don't really, I guess it depends on what the definition of celebrity is. Like, if you're using somewhat loose definition, I would say that, I don't really think that people, just joining crypto to launch their own meme coins and then leave is that helpful for the space, right? I think it just makes more people bitter, because they end up losing their money oftentimes in those coins that are launched, right? And then they learn the hard way why Bitcoin dominance matters, right? They'll throw their money in these meme coins, and they'll watch those meme coins basically just go to zero. Not all of them. Some of them have done well, but I don't know. Like, I would probably say really successful business people that are really, really famous, right? I don't know if people would refer to him as a celebrity, but Warren Buffett, right? He's on the record calling Bitcoin rat poison, right?
Right.
Yeah, I thought or was that
Munger? I think
it was Munger. Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember, but they've never really, they've sort of operated historically. They only invest in things they really understand, right? And I think you can respect that, right? If they don't really understand crypto, it makes sense for them to not just get excited about it because the numbers go up, right? But I think that would be really cool if because I think like it would actually make a lot of other people who are, deep pockets, right? And really successful people, I think it would actually make them take a second look at the asset class, right? Because I think a lot of people just look at crypto and they think like, oh, it's just full of like, it's a casino. It's just all these meme coins and all that stuff. But if you had someone like Warren Buffett, saying something positive about Bitcoin, I think it would make people take a second look. Because I think Bitcoin often just gets lumped in with everything else for a lot of people. And if you wanted to expand beyond him, I would say, you know, and I mean, I think some of them have already said positive things somewhat before, but they're not really, you know, all in. I mean, like, you know, just people like that run some of the maybe some of these people that run these really large companies they were talking about earlier, right? Like Jeff Bezos. You know, you saw what happened in 2021 when Elon Musk, right after Elon Musk bought Bitcoin, we basically went from 40K to 60K in like what, a couple of weeks after that announcement came that Tesla had bought Bitcoin and then they were accepting Bitcoin, and then he kind of like walked a lot of that back, you know, like the accepting Bitcoin and whatnot. I think he walked some of that back a couple months later, which was kind of disheartening to see. But I think if you just saw more people like that really promote it and say, you know what, we'll accept Bitcoin for these products, then I think that would probably do more good for the space than just another influencer or just another, you know, celebrity launching another meme coin, right? Because I mean, I don't like, what celebrity that we know of has come into the crypto space and hasn't just tried to launch a meme coin and do a quick cash grab, right? I mean, I'm not saying there's none, but a lot of them, that's what they try to do. They launch a meme coin, take people's money, and then they disappear and go talk about something else. So I don't really think we need more of that, but that's my opinion.
Yeah. Very good, Ben. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Rob, what about you? Have you? Are there any names that spring to mind that you think would be a sort of net gain for the space?
Well, first, Warren Buffett would be great, but what can you imagine him going to his shareholders meeting, like, okay, everybody, we're going to take a wholly different direction. Follow me on Buffett's bags or something like that, and that'd be the Solana coin. Like, oh, there you go. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at, like, I would say there's three, and I was thinking about this this morning. I was taking a walk, and I was like, the number one would be like what Ben said, Elon Musk, because Elon Musk has already talked positive about Bitcoin, but he's already talked positive about Dogecoin. And remember when Dogecoin went from a fraction of a penny all the way up, but I think it topped out around 72 cents when he went on Saturday Night Live, and he pretty much just said that it was a hustle. So you have something like that, he moves markets and everybody loves him. And of course, he runs the biggest platform for free speech, which would be X. So if you had him doing a meme coin, it would explode. But would he want to do that and be responsible? Who knows? So there's that one. I also think about someone that is a good person, is massively influential, and is really for the younger generation, and actually not even the younger, like middle age, I would say, even, and be Mr. Beast. Imagine if Mr. Beast came out and said, I'm going to do a meme coin. But what we're going to do is just like on my videos where we dug 1,000 wells in Africa, or when we give underprivileged children medical care, or when we went to this place and gave everybody, a large part of those proceeds are going to go to children and the underprivileged. Right there, everybody's in, right? And then all of a sudden it takes a whole new different look as to what crypto and digital assets are. And it's all about the narrative. When you change the narrative, then everybody's like, oh, this isn't so bad. And trust me, if people they'll start to forget about all the cartel talk and the illegal activity that Elizabeth Warren's talking about. And all of a sudden they're like, this is a good thing. This is a great thing. Look what's being done over here. So I think somebody like that would be fantastic. And the third one would be, of course, if NFA Live comes out with a token. Now, if we have an NFA Live token, which I would like to announce today, no, I'm just kidding, that it'll never come out. But it would be interesting. Like you have an NFA Live token, you could get into like Ben's party at Bitcoin convention. That'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Who knows? It's definitely a bull market thing. Mr. Beast is a really interesting one. Yeah, because I think it wouldn't have, I 100% agree with Ben. There's celebrities sort of coming in and launching a meme coin cash grab, and then off they go. That's a terrible look. Reflects badly on them, but it reflects the frustrating thing is it reflects really badly on crypto as well, because it just sort of gives the impression that the whole space is about that sort of grift. But actually, it wouldn't. Mr. Beast. I mean, he sort of gives money away, doesn't he? That's very much his shtick. People can get money for doing all these crazy things. So if he was to do that, with crypto, if he was to be, if he was to sort of, maybe reward people in overseas in other countries by sending them Bitcoin or stable coins or whatever, like without actually sort of launching a meme coin, because I mean, he doesn't need to, does he? People like Mr. Beast, like. I imagine, I don't know what he's worth, but I imagine it's a fair old wedge. So he doesn't need to launch his own meme coin. He doesn't need to sort of make a cash grab like this. I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. I think like you can insert into the crypto space without launching a meme coin, and like they don't have to be like the same thing. Just because you become pro crypto doesn't mean you need to launch a meme coin. And actually, Mr. Beast has talked positively about crypto before. He actually owns he owns some Bitcoin. He said he has before. So
okay.
Yeah, he has said it. I don't know if he's ever said it like on his like his main channel, but I feel like I saw a clip of him, I don't know, like maybe a couple years ago, or maybe like back in 2021 or 2022, where he was on some show, and he said something about like, the only thing he had on some computer or something, or I don't remember what it was, but he mentioned that he had some Bitcoin.
Okay.
So yeah, I do remember that, but I don't know where I would find that he said it. So he has at least mentioned it before.
Okay. So Mr. Beast has already gone crypto. So now we just need him to go a little more crypto. I was thinking about this and sort of this question and sort of chatting about it with a few people in the office here. And as I said earlier, the sort of people that we'd want are not necessarily the sort of people who would be doing a cash grab of any sort. So we want someone whose reputation is still kind of relatively intact. Someone ideally who's sort of apolitical, I think. Someone who isn't broke. A couple of names that came to mind for me. I don't know what you guys think about this, but Ryan Reynolds and George Clooney. Because as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, people in the comments, but correct me if I'm wrong, these are two guys who are, pretty well thought of. I don't think you'll find a huge amount of people out there hating their guts. They're both extremely wealthy, apparently through tequila. More so.
George Clooney he sold his tequila company, and then Ryan Reynolds, he had his Mint Mobile. I think he sold that out. I want to say Verizon or T-Mobile. I forgot which one it was. So they're both roughly, who knows, probably billionaires, but no one hates him. Everybody likes him. And then who knows what they could use for it.
Yeah. And like, I think, a couple of guys like that, if either of them was sort of to go in, and again, like not sort of launching a meme coin or whatever, but then I don't think that's the sort of thing either of them would need to do. But certainly if they came out in support of crypto in some way, or advocating a use case for it, tokenized tequila perhaps, or Ryan Reynolds owns a football club in the UK, so maybe he could integrate crypto with that, and we'll see everyone on the moon. So before we move on to the final question regarding this, I just want to ask you guys: do either of you have a favorite Iggy Azalea track? I Am the Strip Club, perhaps. Good Times with Bad People, Mo Bounce, Black Widow. Are those particular favorites of you guys, or do you prefer others?
Guy, I know you looked up those songs. I do not believe that those are in your tracks. I know you did.
Busted. Yep. I had to write them down.
I feel like you're trying to speak to me, but I don't understand a word you're saying. By the way, I found if you show my screen, I found a tweet by Mr. Beast. February 20th, 2021, he gave away 10,000 in Bitcoin. See?
Okay.
So he has mentioned it before.
All right.
Maybe now's the time. 3 years later, we could do something.
Yeah. Jimmy, we need you back. Crypto needs you. Okay, let's move on. We've had some interesting suggestions in the comments, by the way, for celebrities in crypto, which I will share at the end. But first, I want to tackle another burning question. I know this is something we've got to sort out, guys. So, not only is crypto sentiment really bad at the moment, but so many people in crypto seem to literally be wanting to fight each other at the moment. There's all these sorts of like influencer boxing matches going on, everyone just looking to sort of beat each other up. So guys, we've got to put up, theoretically, if we had to put up a champion for NFA to represent NFA in some sort of horrible scrap somewhere, who are we going to choose? I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to say, Rob, I know you've got a military background. I think this is where we find out that, you're ex-Delta Force, you can kill a man with just a Trezor. Is that true? Are you our guy?
Not with this crappy back and a blown out disc. No, but I will recommend. I'm going to recommend Danny from your team on Coin Bureau Club. And the reason why I recommend Danny, the researcher, is because anybody crazy enough to have this portfolio of Argo Coin, Badman Robots, Zephyr Protocol, Banana Gun, and it isn't like 0. It's like 4, 5, 6%. Anyway, that's crazy. I'll put him in with Karate Combat against anybody. So I'll go with Danny on this one.
Okay, I'll talk to Danny about that. Yeah, I think anyone who's prepared to be that degenerate is definitely going to be unpredictable in the ring. Ben, what about you? I mean, I know you have black belts in nuclear physics and chess. Do you think you'll be able to sort of make use of those in the ring?
I'm not your guy for that. I can promise you. I would 100% go with Rob over me.
Ben, you're the youngest. You're the youngest and healthiest. You gotta bring it together. I know you got 4 kids, so protect your head.
You've seen how many times I'm sick on here. I'm not that healthy.
That's true. That is true.
If we could bring on a celebrity or from some, from outside this group right here, I would say Jason Appleton.
I mean,
that dude, he came to the party I had last year in Miami, and I mean, he is like he's like 7 feet tall. I mean,
he's gigantic.
I mean, I was looking up, and it kind of reminds me of they recently had a competition with one of the former world's strongest men. He's named Eddie Hall. I think he won it in like 2017, I think.
And he fought 2 guys, right?
He fought 2 guys at the same time. They were like 160 pounds, like 2 160 pound guys. And I mean, they didn't have a chance. I mean, he like within the first like few seconds, I think one of the guys got knocked out. And then they made the other guy fight him by himself because his teammate got knocked out. And I mean, it was pathetic. I mean, it was just over like so quickly. I mean, I wonder how many people you would have to have go up against him to actually have someone take him down. And it kind of reminds me of like if Jason were to take on, a couple of guys that only, were a lot smaller. I mean, I feel like he could probably do something similar.
It'd be like Jason versus Vitalik Buterin and like the entire Ethereum Foundation, maybe. And everybody, if you want to like, who's Jason Appleton? That's Crypto Crow. And there's a video of him actually in Karate Fight Club or Karate Combat, excuse me. And he knocks this another guy out who was a ex NFL football player. And it was pretty impressive. So yeah, check out that video.
Despite the fact that I'm sure it'd be a very one-sided fight if he were to go up against Vitalik, I'm sure people would still say that they're holding up well.
But okay, like that's Bitcoin dominance. It's sliding it in there. Very nice, Ben. Very nice. Well played, sir. Touche.
Oh, it's so smooth. It's so smooth. Okay, so Jason Appleton is officially, Crypto Crow is officially nominated as NFA's champion if we have to get involved in any sort of scrap. That's reassuring to know, because I can tell you one thing: it sure as heck ain't going to be me. I'm most definitely not a fighter. If I had to nominate anyone else, I think Jessica here at Coin Bureau, like she grew up in South Wales. Like they don't make them soft there. They're all made out of steel and coal in that part of the world. So I reckon Jess could probably be a good champion for us as well. But someone in the comments suggested, Rob, you could beat them up and then use your medical skills to bring them back, which would be I think that would be a very magnanimous gesture. I just want you to consider that, Rob.
Under consideration for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I told you we were going to tackle the big questions in this episode, guys. So I'll just share with you a few of the suggestions that people in the comments had for a celebrity, to go crypto and sort of help revitalize its reputation. We had Charlie Sheen suggested. Someone didn't really get the memo there. Warren Buffett. A few people suggested Warren Buffett. I don't think we want that German cannibal guy, whoever he is. I don't think we want that football dude, whoever he is. This is quite a good suggestion. Terry Crews. He seems like seems like a very sort of I don't know. He just seems like a good guy, doesn't he, Terry Crews?
Yeah.
Someone else suggested Joe Rogan. I mean, I know there's a sort of running theme that people are sort of desperate for Joe Rogan to interview some crypto person on his podcast. I don't think he's really spoken to anyone sort of in the crypto community. So I guess in terms of influence, Joe Rogan is probably sort of up there with the best of them. And someone else suggesting Idris Elba, who I think would be pretty good. Caitlin Clark, she's the WNBA. That's the women's basketball.
Right.
Is that right?
Do you know that's a good one to do because everybody loves her, except if you play in the WNBA. Apparently, most of them hate her for some reason.
Okay. Well, in that case, maybe it's about time she rethought her career options and came over to crypto. But of course,
they left her off the Olympic team. There's a lot of
really.
There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of controversy about that right now. They left her off the Olympic team.
Oh, right. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, she needs to come over here because we have open arms for everybody who wants to embrace crypto. Unless you go on Twitter, then everybody's fighting. But right here on NFA Live, we'll love to have you.
Yeah, very welcoming. She can join the NFA Live team. And Degen suggests Kermit the Frog would be awesome. I think Kermit the Frog would be awesome. I imagine he holds a lot of Pepe already. So great. Okay. Well, I think that's about it for this week. I haven't seen any particular questions that people have in the comments. So if you guys are happy to leave it there for this week, then we shall. I think next week, I'm going to be traveling next week. Yeah. So I can either sort of we can either get Jess to join or maybe we could have a week off. Or what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll be out of town. I'll be out of town next week too. So
yeah.
Okay.
So maybe next week we skip, and then the week after maybe we come back.
Yeah.
When Bitcoin's at 100,000. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Or when the Bitcoin dominance is at 60%. Let's do that.
Yeah, we'll come back with it's only a matter of time, as Ben has told us. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for Ben and Rob. Thanks for joining. That was great. We're glad we got to address those burning questions. I'm glad we also have an NFA champion fighter on standby in case it ever comes to that. So, guys, like we were saying, no NFA next week, but we will be back again very soon. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and go out and touch grass. See you all again soon.
Yeah. Adios. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.